Hi, I'm Toni Land, and welcome to ToniTime. Earlier this week, I shared a simple thought. Having the recipe isn't the same as making the meal. Now, I've been thinking about how often this shows up in healthcare, especially when leaders are doing all the right things on paper, but the outcomes still aren't changing. And here's where the chili comes in. Now, just stay with me. I promise this will make sense. So I'm somewhat of a semi-homemade cook. Even when I make chili, which I love, I take shortcuts. I don't always start from scratch. I usually start with Amy's Organic Vegetarian Chili as the base. Then I add black beans, canned tomatoes, and some frozen corn. And that gives me a solid foundation that I can use as is, but it's not the final chili for my family. For us, that's just the base. The real work comes next. This is the moment where the base actually becomes the chili. Now we decide who's eating the chili? How spicy do they like it? Are we serving it over a baked potato or are we serving it with cornbread? Do we mix the spices in or do we put them on the side? That's the difference between something that's technically ready and something that people actually want to eat. Now, in healthcare, leaders are often really good at choosing the base. The strategy is sound, the framework makes sense, the best practices are clear, but best practice isn't the same as best fit. And this is where the execution often breaks down. We select the practice, we announce the plan, and we hope execution follows. But execution doesn't happen at the announcement or the rollout. It happens in the small daily decisions leaders don't always see from their office or from the boardroom. And that's where co-design matters. We ask questions like, what has to stay consistent? And where does flexibility help the work fit better? And what will actually work at the point of care? This is where best practice actually becomes best fit. Usually people don't resist chili. Well, most of them don't. They resist being served something that they had no voice in shaping. See, knowing isn't the problem, doing is. And doing improves when leaders slow down just enough to move from base to chili, best practice to best fit, and planning to daily practice. So if your strategy looks good on paper, but it isn't showing up consistently in practice, it might not need a rewrite. It might need co-design. Sometimes the smartest move isn't starting from scratch. It's starting with a strong base and then inviting others to help turn it into something that actually works. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me on ToniTime.